sound of the first new musical instrument invented this century, the hung. Made by just one small Swiss company since the year 2000, this tuned metal pan looks like a cross between a wok and a flying saucer. Virtually impossible to buy, it's become an enormous success online, perhaps the first instrument to go viral. Some hung videos on YouTube have over 7 million hits from a vast online community of enthusiasts. Whole websites are dedicated to these bizarre sound sculptures. I'm Evelyn Glennie, and in this programme for the BBC World Service, I'll be discovering the story of this extraordinary new instrument, its roots, its players, and the online community that have taken it to heart. Here we are in my studio, and goodness me, there are so many instruments of all shapes and sizes. And of course, percussion is always developing. There's always something new to explore. And I'm standing in front of this wonderful instrument called an allophone. And basically, each bell that is struck is shaped like almost like a hubcap in a way. Just fascinating to look at. This is a wrenchophone, and it consists of tuned spanners. This is a batonka, and it's a set of tuned plastic tubes. But the hung is one of the biggest hits in recent years. Made of a special type of steel, it has a convex dome that rises to a central bass note, the ding. This is surrounded by a circle of different tone fields. The hands can dance all over the surface of the hung. Even the softest touch has a profound resonance. It has similarities with gongs, bells and harps, Tibetan singing bowls, Indonesian gamelan and clay pot drums like the Indian gatam and African udu. But the hung has a sound all to itself. I first came across a hung in a shop in Switzerland, and I was so intrigued by the shape. And I remember there were rows of them stacked on top of each other. And I grabbed one immediately, and it was fascinating to just brush the hand across the surface. And of course, when I struck each pitch, it was just this magical resonance that really seeped through my body, and I'd never experienced anything quite like it. We know that the hung was inspired by the steel pan. Indeed, the very first prototype hung was made by sticking two steel pan shells together. So one place to look for the roots of the hung is Trinidad, the home of steel pan.
No one could say that they really invented the steel pan. It happened by accident, and everybody contributed.
I'm here with Sterling Betancourt, MBE, a founding father of the steel pan.
The earliest pans were just paint pans and biscuit tins and all these sort of things, something like this. And that's around 1930s. And by beating the tin, they found that they got a dent and they got about 2 notes. And then they went on to get a stone now, and they were tapping it. And they found they were getting different. That is how the steel bands started.
Here we go.
Yes.
I will lift it onto our laps. What do you think of that, Sterling?
It looks like a spaceship for once.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we don't have it on a stand, so it's literally resting on our laps.
Yeah. I see, but the only thing similar, I think, is the steel. You understand? Because this is sort of, how many notes it has? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 notes. Yes, but the steel band has about 30 notes on it.
Yes, indeed. So musically,
it has a chromatic scale, the steel band, which this is sort of has an Eastern song now about it, I think.
So, Sterling, why don't we try playing, if I play the hung and you play the steel pan, let's see how this marries up.
Okay, we'll have a go and see.
Born in Trinidad in 1930, Sterling brought steel pan to London in 1951 for the Festival of Britain and went on to help start the Notting Hill Carnival, taking the sound of steel to a huge audience. One place where steel pans were enormously popular was in Switzerland. The music became a huge craze there from the 1970s onwards, and it caught the ear of a young man called Felix Rohner, who began making steel pans and experimenting with producing new types of resonant metal. Felix founded the Pan Art Company in 1993 and was soon joined by Sabina Scherer. They forged the first hung in the year 2000. Pan Art rarely grant interviews, but here is Felix speaking last year to Jessica Dacey of the Swiss Info website about the sounds that inspired the hung, including cowbells.
We dreamed about an orchestra for cows. But then I reflected on it and I thought, cows have a right to have silence. We studied the symbols. This is a symbol. We make symbols too. How to tune with our material, how a symbol is working. We studied all instruments like this. Here we studied the gong. This is a pung. We studied how a gong is making oncas, the oscillations. Whoa, 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 huh? And we got out, we learned some laws. Chrome steel, inox steel, copper, we tried out many things. Until you find your own material. Nobody could give it, you know. They just said, yeah, sheet metal is weak. And that's what is our art. We make something strong out of something weak.
Felix Rohner of Pan Art, makers of the hung.
I think it's great that in this century there's been an acoustic invention, not just electronic progress.
One of the first players to try to master this new instrument was Manu Delago. Manu is one of the very best hung players in the world. He's played hung with Björk and recently returned from a tour with Anushka Shankar. Going back a few years, so how did you first discover the hung?
My father showed me the website of Pan Art around 2003, I think. So he showed it to me and then we just ordered one. Back then it was quite easy to get it because no one knew about it and you could buy it directly from Pan Art. So I was lucky that I discovered it kind of early and I got a set of several hangs now.
sounds that are produced, you know, it seems to be a combination of almost Middle Eastern sounds, Far Eastern sounds with the gongs, the gamelan, with, you know, all of what I term as gold-like sounds. But yet it can be extremely percussive, you know, almost like a tuned drum kit in a way. Can you just demonstrate a little bit of this?
Yeah, I guess the most obvious thing is the whole melodic aspect of it, which can sound like this. And then what is, I guess, the most percussive sound is something like this. I play a few of the extra sounds you can create with it. And this is how you, for example, can bring all these aspects of rhythm and melody and extra sounds together.
And every part of your hand is used. Every part of the fingers, you name it. I mean, it's extraordinary to watch. It really is. I'd love to just try a little something together and see what happens.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. Pan Art refused to mass-produce their instruments. Their goal was craftsmanship, not money. Instead, in 2006, they decided to slow down demand by withdrawing the hung from shops, stating that would-be owners now had to write in to the company. Thousands of letters began to arrive from across the globe. Even if a letter reached Pan Art, an invite to visit their Swiss workshop and select a hung was not always forthcoming. Such limited supply fueled the mystique around these instruments, and obtaining one became something of a quest.
My first point of contact to Pan Art was actually writing them, it was a handwritten letter.
One person who managed to win them over is musician Daniel Waples.
I actually asked them, can you send me one? Yeah, I didn't know about going there and having this magical journey of actually going to their workshop on the side of the River Ayer, just outside of Bern. So yeah, I just kind of laid myself out, you could say. I kind of spoke very freely about myself and sort of said, your instrument helps me, please can I have one?
So when you visited the hung house, I mean, what was that like?
Wow, it was quite an experience, I suppose. I mean, at the time that I was there, I was kind of overwhelmed by seeing so many instruments, so beautifully created, all lined up next to each other. Luckily for my trip there, I booked 5 days. And at that point, Pan Arts were actually receiving people, and they had a little room with 2 beds in and a little sink and a little bathroom there, actually in the workshop. Well, for those 5 days, I was actually sleeping there in the workshop. For a few of those days, they had other visitors coming. So I ended up actually sleeping in the rafters of the building for a few days. It was quite funny. I got to spend some time with them. We went out for a beer, sort of sat down, talked about history and where we think we were going. And I can actually recall Felix saying at the time he was looking forward to seeing what other people make in honour of the hang.
It's very hard to describe the sound of the hung because, of course, it's still developing. And when the hung is played, you feel as though one minute you're in Indonesia, the next minute, you might be in China or something, or India or Africa. And but how would you describe the sound if you had to just put it in a few words?
Personally, I hold the hung, the instruments, the handpans, as an example of what can be done when so many different cultures come together and are mixed up and sort of strained, and the best elements put together. I would say that probably about 90 to 95% of the people exposed to handpans and hangs probably came about the first time on YouTube. Personally, I've met hundreds of people who've come up to me and sort of said, "Oh, are you this guy from YouTube?" Or they've contacted me telling me that I'm the first person they actually witnessed playing it on the internet. One of the things about most videos is everybody says I'm always smiling in them. I suppose the reason that I am smiling so much is the fact that when I was a child and my first musical expressions were coming out, I was part of a military marching band, and we weren't allowed to smile. So I had to stand in line, with everybody else, and sort of do our marches, our routines, and we weren't allowed to smile at each other while doing it. So I guess all those years of pent-up smiles have been coming out since playing this instrument.
So it was in 2006, with the dawn of YouTube, that the hung went viral. Suddenly, these hard-to-obtain instruments had a global audience. Demo videos and web forums bloomed online. You're listening to Hanging Around on the BBC World Service with me, Evelyn Glennie. The hung's first followers were percussionists, buskers and festival goers.
I'm Kelly Hutchinson. I'm the co-founder of Hangout UK, a festival based here in the south of England. It's a chance for the online community to get together, meet up, get inspired by other players, understand the instrument themselves, and for new people to come together and sit down and play. Very few people get the chance to actually play these instruments. They're very difficult to get hold of. The handpan community is a very tight-knit place, so we've got these online forums where people chat all year long, talking to each other about the different type of scales they've got, excited people that have just picked up their instruments. The instrument itself brings people together. And I saw it yesterday, there was the one handpan on the floor and there was 4 people playing the instrument, playing for about an hour, just enjoying the music, and at the end of it there was hugs, and yeah, it's great, it's good fun.
This vast community has been galvanised by a new generation of makers that are now building their own handpans, inspired by the work of pan art.
Pan art have had a very good successful run of things before someone come along and started to actually think, actually I could probably make one of these. From that kind of moment on, pan art kind of changed their views on things. They've always had a special connection with their instrument. They don't really see it as such as an instrument, as a piece of art. So like an artist would do a painting, these guys make these sound sculptures, and I think everyone has the absolute utmost respect for the kind of pioneering work they've done with steel pans and how they sort of progressed into the handpan making industry. And there's a lot of controversy surrounding pan art and the way that they do things now and the way that they've always done things. To have to write a letter to get an invite over there to choose an instrument. You can see why, because when you sit down with a handpan, and I think a lot of people kind of miss the point with these things, is that they are so unique, they are so individual, they're all handcrafted, they're all handmade. Each one will make a different sound, will feel different in your lap, will feel different to sound. So pan art had the right way about things by actually getting people to go, sit down and listen and play, maybe 20 hung that they had in their workshop and choose the one that you wanted. I think in the early stages you have people that really did take their design and copy it, and there's a lot of legal issues behind that have gone on behind the scenes, but generally speaking, I think people are moving in their own directions now, and it's great that we've got so many new makers. They're satisfying a huge market of people that are now coming into contact with the instrument, seeing the instrument on the streets and places like that. It's becoming so much more popular that it's good that we've got these other makers around.
Over the last decade, hung-like instruments have become available from makers such as Bell Art in Spain and Pantheon Steel in America.
Since we've been making the Halo, it's gone from the hung and then the Halo to dozens of makers around the world, and they are all over the world, and I love that.
Kyle Cox is the co-founder of Pantheon Steel, makers of the Halo.
It changes the landscape, in my opinion, in a healthy way. There's variety. There's different approaches to making these, not just one way. The community surrounding the hong, the sound, everything was so different that I was just really inspired by, I wanted to get to know more of that. And I had read a publication where the hong makers had said that we need more hongs in the world, more hong makers. And I took that as, okay, well, I can be one of those. I think. I want to. So I did. And I went directly to our shop where we were making steel pans. My partner was standing there, and I remember I walked in the front door, and he was at another door, and I said, Jim, stop. I said, just stop. What about this?
My name is Jim Dewson. I'm from Farmington, Missouri in the United States. I spent 55 years as a industrial electrician, retired. And shortly after that, I met my now partner, Kyle Cox of Pantheon Steel. And I've never worked so hard in my life since then, but have really enjoyed it. And I think that it's done something on extending my life.
See, the difference between this and a steel pan is a steel pan is fully chromatic, which means it's like a piano, a guitar, a violin. It can play everything. Now, that's where these are different, where you don't have the surface area and the depth to put all the notes in that you can in like a soprano steel pan. So then you've picked the notes that are going to sound the best together, and there's many varieties. So this one is called Golden Gate. It's like a yearning combination of notes that it just, every time, the first time I played those three notes together, it just really grabbed me. I'm like, wow, that is such a interesting combination of notes. And they sound different. Those three notes, if you play them on a piano, sound nothing like what you just heard on this instrument. Because it's not just those three notes, it's all of their harmonics that are interacting with each other at the same time. If you want me to, I'm happy to just play a little bit.
It reminds me of a harp. It puts people in a very happy and calm state. I've found people telling me how they've used the thing with the elderly to soothe pains from cancer, things like that. Just recently, I had a gentleman that was there that had some real heart problems, and within about a year's time, it had 7 heart attacks. And he stated to us that when he plays the halo, it kind of loosens him up. It gives him a very relaxed atmosphere. So with something like that, I feel that we have given some real contribution to life.
Jim Dewson of Pantheon Steel, makers of the Halo, a hand pan inspired by Pan Art's hong. But what has been Pan Art's response to their own enormous success?
The exposure they've had over the years has been a blessing for them in many ways.
Daniel Waples.
But I can totally understand. Felix must have received thousands of simple emails from people simply stating, sell me hang, how much hang? And I can see how having hundreds of people knocking on his front door every year without being invited there, people who've been told the story by somebody else, who's been told the story by somebody else, Chinese whispers. I feel quite sorry for the guys there. I mean, because they've not been so public, I suppose. I mean, to my knowledge, they deleted their website in 2006, and I think they reinstalled it maybe last year or the year before. So there was quite a big period. There was no, sort of face, if you like, on the internet. During this time, they had sent out a few papers every now and then, a few newsletters, which is always very entertaining to read, and it's always, you never know what's going to come in the next one. When they revealed that last year they actually stopped making the hang, that was quite a big twist on everybody.
After making around 7,000 hang, Pan Art decided to kill off the instrument in 2013. They now devote their time to producing a new array of sound sculptures, including the Gubal. For me, the story of the hang is special because it shows that there's an enormous desire for new sounds and new forms of instruments across the world. It also gets to the heart of what I feel is exciting about percussion. These instruments are intimate and immediate to play. They draw everybody in.